Another dark log. What's going on, fellow zombies? Are we sleep deprived and emotionally screwed up? Because I'm that way dealing with a dog right now who's belly aching at me. It's well after 4:21 in the morning West Coast time. This is the zombie Weaver, John C. Roseman, California, who does the diary of a griever named John Weaver, which is me. You hear in the background there? Yeah. She's belly aching because she don't like to get up this early in the morning. Actually, she wanted to get out of bed. I put her over where her pee pads are. She didn't want to be over there. So, she's the fuss budget this morning. Off and on sleep. And while I wait for her to go back to sleep, which is not going to happen just yet, I've been checking things out in the nation. Detroit apartment complex is about to kick people out, and very limited help from the city or county in their area for an entire 31 population in this apartment here. That sucks. Management company, property management, going through whatever kind of head games they're going through. Meanwhile, electrical company about 200, 300 yards away from the building is threatening power shutdown during a cold snap, which people are going to be freezing to death. They happen to get evicted. Isn't that nice? Or how about dealing with another place that happens to deal with a shell game going on? And they talked to a 91-year-old woman. I think that's out in Tennessee somewhere. She can't find a place to live. That wasn't bad enough. I run into another residential situation here where a woman's been taking care full-time of her full-grown son who's got physical and mental disabilities. Social Security is screwing her over one way or another. Had this kind of waiver program going on for about a year and a half or two. And because she's been working full-time, taking care of her son, getting the waivers through Social Security, they claim that she owes them a great deal of money. I'm coming across flashes of stories like this. It makes me wonder and it makes me worried about my own situation here at home. And while you hear a dog whining in the background here, I'll put this on a pause and show you the pain in the ass. She must be obeyed. I call her Sheila must be obeyed because in her later years she has become more and more of a pain in the butt. Someone out there said I should be putting her under because of convenience, since it bite me on that one, asshole. You don't do that to family members. Unless, of course, you're that way concerning about family members that you want to put them under for convenience. Not me. I'm a caregiver to my dog. I've been a caregiver to my family. I'm a caregiver to my dog. Deal with it. I'm also a student finishing up the last week of the semester before I take a semester or take the winter off, come back in the spring and see what the hell goes on at my college. Speaking of college, I heard that there was an Oklahoma student out there who was trying to put religion into a philosophy, actually in a psychology class, and trying to explain something to the professor about how the Bible relates to the works when it comes down for, if I've got it correctly, and I probably don't, concerning about trans, and even though the professor is also trans. So the internet's going crazy, courtesy of Turning Point, of yelling and screaming at the professor. How dare you? When you're dealing with coursework and you're dealing with a professor who's got a specific area for you to get your information from, you generally don't push the envelope unless you already have material necessary to complete your assignment, including an essay. Now, my thing, what I'm going through, my history course, is concerning about military and foreign policy between Korea through the Second Gulf War, and probably currently right now. And yes, we did have several books that we can go through, and one or two of them were priority. Actually, three of them, actually. One of the books was Things It Carried, a guy named O'Brien, and there's another guy named Evans does Generation Kill. And then there's another book from Donaldson who covers the area from World War II all the way through its latest printing, which was back in 2016, covering the Second Gulf War. So in these three books, somewhere in there, I'm supposed to write up a nice masterful essay for the last hurrah in the class. Or hoorah. Fine. I'll dig them up. I never realized that on the Amazon book library thing and also the Kindle thing, that authors can actually set up how many times you can copy information out of the book without having too much issues. Doesn't matter if you're copying a word or something, they got a counter on it, so I gotta type my stuff out. But that's not it. That's not just it. Because they've got several topics in there that I have to write about, and I may have to go for outside. But the professor's coursework is, I have to stay within a book or two for it. So I'm going to have to modify my essay. Okay, no problem. I can adjust it out. But when you have a student wanting to throw in theology, take it from another book, another course book that people would actually study in Sunday or in church groups. Catching a hint? And using it as a textbook. It's one thing if I have a professor who's willing to go to a little deep end on that one, but if the professor is really adamant about the book assignments that they want the information out of, then you want the grade, you got to go through the hoops on this one. You got to do what the professor's saying at this point. If you got 3 books that you need to work with and you want to use an outside source, either you clear with the guy or you just don't do it. But the student feels like she had every adamant right to doing this one book outside of the coursework, and then she started bellyaching and she got 0 out of it. If she had talked to the professor about it, it would have been up to the professor's call whether or not if it was going to be allowed or not. But if the professor would say no, because this is not part of what we're dealing with here, and this has nothing or 0 bearing in this topic matter we're dealing with here, or even let alone your major at this point, then why am I going to be giving you a grade on something that you already went outside my purview here? If I'm going to be the professor here, and I got these 3 books here, and I want the report taking examples out of here to substantiate your thesis, but you're going to be using this other book for the pure source, doesn't work. Trust me, I've been through that route before. I've been personally through that route before when I got into college a decade ago. And I took a critical thinking and literature book in English. We look at materials, out of source materials, and we analyze. We talk about it. We write about it. When you have a project coming up at the end of the term, and this project is saying that this is the source that you need to look at the original. And I said, no, I'm looking at the one previous to that. There was a miscommunications going on, and I got a D out of the class. All the work put in, I got a D out of it. Yeah, I could have gone screw on this one and fumigate and like everything else, just go thermonuclear on it. Just wasn't worth it. Just wasn't worth it. I figured I can go back later and redo the class, and I did. And I got a better grade because I studied and I learned and I listened to the professor and I talked to the professor. I came to an understanding and then wrote the material, and I got a C and above, I think. That's cool. But for me, using the Bible for everything and for an answer of everything concerning about trans, some topics I don't touch. To me, it's like political third rails. You don't touch them unless you want to get shocked, unless you want to get run over or shocked to death on this one. And for me, I didn't topic. I didn't talk about a student using a Bible to probably go against trans people in an essay. It certainly wasn't an approved material. And if this was already gone through the draft period, if the professor said, well, you still got a month to write this thing, pick me up another book. The student said, no, I want to use this one here because my thoughts, my feel, it has to be this way. It's the professor's prerogative at that point to tell the student, no. You got to write it in that way. I'm going to grade it this way. You got your other materials over here that's already been approved. If you got another source, show it to me. Otherwise, I'm not doing this because there's no substantiating proof. Of course, the student's going to say, no, you're going against my religious freedom. A professor doesn't take too kindly to religious freedom. Now, the student could have done, talked to the dean of that department, gone up to the administration to see if there was anything else. But if they said the professor had the final authority on this one, you either drop the class, get a W on it, or go through it. It's that simple. It's that simple. And that's what I have to do. I'm not in that situation. I know the materials I have to go through. I just have to plow through the material that I've got to get the quotations necessary. And besides, mine's challenging enough anyway, so let me tell you about it. I got about 15 topics, and I got to select 5. This is for short terms, like 2 or 3 paragraphs with a bit of a quotation in there to substantiate it. But the long form is about 3 to 5 pages, and I got to work on that little bastard. The others, to me, are just definitions I copy over and put it into the essay. Okay, no problem. But the other one requires thought. And I need to get the materials. I need to get the quotations necessary to back up my thoughts. That's the fun part, especially when I'm on crunch time. But there was another major final exam I had to do. Actually, a final essay. That's already been in. I already got all of my material necessary. The duck's already in place. And that's been in there. I was doing about the first 3 hours of 9/11 on the West Coast, at home. My own personal account. But I had to back it up with a lot of material from the East Coast that we were studying. Let me get that rephrased. September 11th, 2001, all hell broke loose. Lives changed. Everything changed in us. We got galvanized, we got pissed off, and we went to war. And for about 10 years, we got stuck in 2 countries. One country we were doing a duck hunt. The other one, removal and see what the hell happens in the country. But I wrote about it with materials I gathered and improved for a professor, and it's in. So I'm not going to stress over it just yet. Just this week's material, yeah, that I will stress. But that's my take. What's yours? Talk to me. Comment if you have to. No, don't have to. Want to. I prefer want to. That being said,